Did you know that shame is one of those things that separates us from animals? We are the only beings that have the capacity to blush, and blushing indicates shame, healthy shame, otherwise known as guilt. And there's also toxic shame that is insidious in nature and is undermining you from achieving whatever it is that you're looking to achieve in your life, whether it is getting a new car or a new home or a significant other or getting that raise or that promotion that you're looking for. So this week, we're going to talk about how to uncover your shame and heal from it so that you can move forward and let go. So let's just for a moment talk about the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is often it's the healthy version of shame, right? It is that natural way of being a human being, the blushing, right? And sometimes guilt is just shame wearing a coat, right? Wearing a different coat that's called guilt, but underneath it is something that's deeper, that's part of your conditioning, part of your neurological wiring that comes from a long time ago or maybe even a month ago. And I know that shame is not something that people want to admit or want to acknowledge. Shame is kind of something that's, this thing that we sweep under the rug. It's like a little demon that we don't want to acknowledge, or like the monster that's hiding under the bed. Shame is not something that we talk about at the workplace or, in public forums and public settings. It's something that you do at therapy. And sometimes people think, I'm an advocate of therapy. And sometimes people think therapy is for, there's that stigma of there's something wrong, there's something bad. And the same thing goes with shame. And here's what I want to say is shame is normal. So if you get nothing else from this video, I want you to normalize that shame and guilt are normal ways. If you feel any of those feelings, congratulations, you are human. That's wonderful. Let's celebrate that. So let's just normalize that right from the get-go. And that doesn't mean that it's something that we want to revel in and, live in and slather ourselves with. What we really want to have happen is to really pull apart and differentiate what is healthy guilt or shame and what is toxic shame. So how do you know the difference between the two? One is that when you feel shame, it can feel bad in your body. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like something that you want to hide or crawl away from. And I'm going to tell you a little story about my own shame. And it's something that seems really simple, but it can be anything. And that's why I want to use this example. So as I'm telling you the story, I want you to listen as if it were your own story so that you can look back over your own life and begin to uncover some of your places of toxic shame, and that you can begin to surrender, release them, let go, and move forward and feel so much lighter and achieve the goals that you want to achieve for 2023. So the story is about, I was probably a teenager, somewhere high school years. That 13 to 18 years old is really such a place of being sort of self-centered, right? Being a little narcissistic. And I remember my dad bought a vehicle, a car. It was a station wagon, and it was the ugliest colored station wagon you have ever seen. It was this really dark brown, chocolate color. Actually, now that I think about it, the chocolate cover was wonderful. But my siblings and I were embarrassed, and I, especially at the age that I was at, I was super embarrassed to be seen in this vehicle. And I remember one time he took me, I guess it was either to my 8th grade graduation or to my high school graduation, in fact. And I was so embarrassed to be seen in this vehicle or be seen anywhere near the vehicle. I remember feeling it in my body. I just wanted to crawl away and not even be a part of the celebration that was happening around me and for me. And I didn't realize that I carry this shame, this I'm not enough. This is this is bad. I am not enough. I internalize this as, all these other people have all these beautiful vehicles, and here we have this, I think we called it the chocolate mobile vehicle that I'm riding around in. And my dad was actually really proud to have this vehicle for whatever reason. And what ended up happening is I just didn't deal with this. Of course, I didn't have the tools at that age to process this and understand how this ended up becoming something that was really toxic for me. And many, many years later, even though I didn't care about vehicles or materialistic things, there was sort of this, yes, I wanted a vehicle that I could drive around that was, reliable and, was, supporting me and doing the things that I wanted to do in the world. And I really wasn't seeing that underneath it, I was still holding on to toxic shame around driving something that looked good. And I've never shared this story before. Now I'm sharing this with you because I think it's really, really important about how something so simple can drive us. And what ended up happening for me was that I was holding on to a vehicle that felt like it was, it looked good and it felt good and was an extension of my sense of self, of my being good enough. And I held on to it for way, way too long. And when I finally let go of it, I had to actually go through a grieving process with a vehicle when I was a full adult. And I did not understand why. So I ended up grieving in a very, very healthy way, right? By just going through each of the steps and feeling all the feelings and then just accepting them. And through this acceptance, I was able to create whatever was next, which is actually a vehicle that serves my needs and what I want to do in the world, right? So I'm using this example of a vehicle because it's very, very simple. And I want you, again, to hear this and hear how when we do not process guilt and shame, when we hold it in, when we sort of repress it or sweep it under the carpet or don't have the tools to deal with it, it's insidious in nature and it can undermine us. Like I said, I was holding on to a vehicle that was costing me a lot of money and really it wasn't serving my needs. How many other areas of my life or your life, I want to challenge you to think about, are you holding on to something because you're driven by shame or not allowing yourself to have something because of this insidious shame? So what I want you to do this week is I want you to look at areas in your life where you feel blocked, where you don't feel right, where you know something is off and you can't quite put your finger on it. And I want you to sit and explore how this is something that shame might be driving. And then take a step further and look at where it might be coming from. It could be coming from your childhood. It could be coming from last month when you said something inappropriate to your spouse and you feel shame around it. And I want you to really look at it, surrender to it, and then take steps to let it go. That might mean journaling about it. It might mean talking with your significant other about it or with the person that you want to clean it up with. Or it might mean going and finding a support system like a therapist or a coach. So this is your challenge for this week. I'm really looking forward to hearing how it goes next time. And I will see you back here next week. Take care. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel below. Bye-bye.